All right, we're back, and we are joined by Kelly Bone, who is gracious enough to join us and describe what's going on in her life and her story. She has a blog, by the way. It's called Living My Best Life with Alzheimer's. Kelly, it's good to see you again.
Hi, Chuck. Nice to see you again. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, well, I think the last time I saw you was last year's walk in August, and you are an inspiration to so many people. I hope you know that.
Oh, well, thank you very much. I'm not really sure if that's what I was trying to be, but I just thought, well, if I share my story and if I help other people, then hopefully I'll be able to have somebody help me as well. And that has happened with my blog, so it's been a blessing.
Well, we find you today in Florida. I'm up in Michigan, so I think it looks like you've got some sunshine. We do too, so we're in good shape.
Good. Yeah, yes, we do.
Yeah. So tell us, your mother had Alzheimer's, right?
Yes, that's correct. My mom had early onset Alzheimer's. She was diagnosed at 58 years old. I was diagnosed at 56 years old. My uncle had dementia, and then several other family members had dementia as well. So that led me to believe that I should probably get tested at some point because I took care of my mom for 9 years. And I knew what to expect. I knew all the symptoms and all what would happen. And she was in Fox Run Nursing Home in Novi. And so a couple years ago, the primary doctor suggested that since there's a Alzheimer's Institute in Florida here called the Tampa Bay Alzheimer's Institute, it's very good. It's only an hour away from me. He said, you know what? It wouldn't hurt for you just to go up there and get tested. So that's what I did.
And were you noticing any symptoms, or was this really something you just wanted to get ahead of the curve on because of your family history?
Well, I was noticing symptoms. My husband and I were noticing symptoms. And it was unusual for me because I'm usually I can do a zillion things at one time and I don't forget things and things like that. And things were starting to slip through the cracks. And
Hmm.
so it was making me a little nervous. And people kept saying, well, you know what? It's just because you're getting older. You know, you're getting in your late 50s. That's why that's happening and stuff like that. But it didn't seem like other people around me were having the same situation. So I had genetic testing done, and the genetic testing showed that I had two APOE4 genes, which are the genes for Alzheimer's, and I have two of them. And so you have a lot higher chance of having Alzheimer's if you have those genetic genes. So when I took that to my primary doctor and showed him that, in addition to, he did some simple memory testing, you know, that primary doctors do. And he said, you know what, I think you should go. So that's when we went up to the Alzheimer's Institute, and they put me through an extensive memory testing for like a 6-hour memory test. And I did not do well on that. And so then, unfortunately, I have a pacemaker. And so I could not have MRI done. And so I had to go for CAT scans instead. So the CAT scan showed that one of my sides of my brain is deteriorating much more rapidly than the other side of my brain.
Mm.
And yeah.
So let's go back because you said so many things that are interesting, and I wanted to get from you if you could share with us what is the definition of early onset? What is the age range where we would say this is early?
Yes, early onset Alzheimer's is for people who would have this when they're 65 or younger. 65
Okay.
and older would be normal Alzheimer's.
You hear this information and you're still able to sit here and smile, and I've seen you in person and said hi to you and your husband. I mean, it's astounding to think that I'm speaking to someone with early Alzheimer's. Do you get that a lot from people? Not disbelief, but just how different it is that you're able to navigate life as you are.
Yes, I do. I also I help run an early onset Alzheimer's support group. And people always tell me, well, it doesn't seem like you have Alzheimer's. And my husband and I laugh when we hear that because to the normal people out there who don't know me very well, that seems the case. In fact, my old boss, I worked for him for 30 years. He says, you know, Kelly, he said, um, to everybody else you seem normal. He goes, because you are now just operating where everybody else is operating. He goes, but you've always operated at such a higher plateau. And what my neurologist tells me is that I'm a high performing Alzheimer's patient. So I have a high cognitive reserve, which means that I can function better than most people because I'm very good at coming up with coping strategies. So for
I see.
example, I can't find my car anymore. When I go in a parking lot, I cannot find my car to kill myself, even if it's a parking lot I'm used to parking at all the time. I just cannot find my way back to my car anymore. And so my strategy for dealing with that is now I have an app on my phone that I go in, and as soon as I get done parking, it's called Park My Car, and I put that on, and it tells me where I parked. And then when I come back, it pops up and it says, okay, you're in the parking lot, and it takes me to my car. Now, the other day, I had a problem because I forgot to use that app, and I walked around the parking lot for 2 hours trying to find my car.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you
So,
forgot to use the app because of Alzheimer's then?
right. Yeah. So I came home and
Yeah.
I told my husband, I said, oh gosh, I'm a little worried. I said, do you think that means I should stop driving? He goes, no. He goes, you've been able to find your way home. You can still function. He goes, you need to just get better at making sure you turn on that app. And so now we've put a little sign in my car that says when I leave, turn on that app before I leave, because I can't find my way back to my car.
Yeah.
For example, I've made a smoothie every day for the last 10 years, the same smoothie for 10 years. I can't remember how to make my smoothie anymore. And so we've come up with a coping mechanism around that and stuff too. So things are slowly slipping for me. Some days are much better than others. Most days are much better than others. And then boy, when I have a bad day, it's a really bad day. And it's usually a bad day for about 3 days or so until I kind of regroup and things like that. And it seems like, quite honestly, things that impact me are stress. And then also, Chuck, I swear to goodness, if I don't exercise and if I don't sleep well, then I'm dead as a doornail. But if I exercise a lot, I have to exercise like 4 hours a day. If I keep exercising, and I get the blood flow going to my brain, then I'm doing fine.
Yeah. But we've heard that many times in a very simplistic way, but you're living proof of this, that heart health is brain health, right? So it's part of it is what you're eating, but exercise is critically important leading up to any diagnoses, obviously. And now you're living it and you're seeing the importance of it in the midst of it.
Yes, yeah, and as you mentioned, diet has been very important for me. I've changed and I've gone on what they call the MIND diet, which is pretty much the Mediterranean diet. So I've
Ah,
removed as much red meats, and I've gone to organic foods. I eat fruits and vegetables mostly. I've removed all the toxins from all the products that I use in my house and on my body. So I don't think by any means to say that those are cures, but I think it can help slow down the progression.
well, isn't that something that you probably learned with your mom and I learned with my mom, is that the customer's always right. I mean, I can't talk her out of something. I can't explain it away. I can't tell her we're not going to go to the old street, Bernard Street, Chicago, when we were in Warren, Michigan. There are just certain things I can't talk her out of it. So the customer's always right. Just kind of agree and figure out for us to cope with the person that we're giving care to.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think, I know you spoke to Mike Plasky recently. Mike
Yeah.
has been offering to talk to my husband about caregiving, because that's one of the things I think my husband needs help with. Is he keeps thinking because I'm doing so well that he doesn't need assistance. And I keep telling him, you need
Uh,
assistance because it's a freight train coming at you pretty soon. And so, um, that's a difficult thing to deal with.
tell us about that difficulty, if you would. And again, thanks for being so honest and upfront about this. But you are how old at this point in your life?
I'm 58.
And so at age 58, and then from the diagnosis to now, there have to be a myriad of emotions. You're talking about the impact of learning that you have this genetic testing and how it shows up. Tell us about the emotions from the day you started to think something was up right through this day.
Okay. Well, the day I was diagnosed with a neurologist, I think I shocked her because I sat there and I just listened to her and I said, okay. And then she kept going on about stuff and I said, all right. And she goes, and then I didn't show any emotion. And she said, well, I don't think you're grasping the severity of the situation here. She goes, do you realize what I just told you? And I said, yeah, I do. I said, I took care of my mom for 9 years. I didn't really react. And I just said, to be honest with you, I said, I know what's going to happen here. I said, so I'm going to go and I'm going to book a trip to Australia and New Zealand tomorrow. And she said, what? And I said, I'm going to just start living my life. I said, because there's nothing you can do right now and there's no diagnosis, there's no cure. So I'm going to just start living my life. And so I did. And I just got back from Australia, New Zealand, and Bora Bora back in January and
Uh-huh.
February. And then I think the big shock for me, though, Chuck, was, to be honest with you, was when I applied for disability, and I got disability approved. And when that came in, because I had to go to their doctors as well, to the government's doctors, and when I went to them and they confirmed my diagnosis, I think that was, two doctors confirming the diagnosis. I think that was hard for me to handle. But I just keep thinking that, you know what, if I dwell on it and if I get depressed, and I do see a lot of people with Alzheimer's, they tend to get very depressed, and I understand why. And, I know depression is one of the symptoms of it. But I just figure if I give in to this disease and I allow it to steal any of my joy right now, then it's going to take me a lot sooner than it needs to. So I'm just trying to fight through it and just trying to be as positive as I can, because that's the only thing I have. I don't qualify for any um, of the trials that are out there, because
Mm.
I recently had cancer, and because I have a non-MRI compatible pacemaker. So there's really nothing on the horizon that I can take that will help me. So I just figure, you know what, attitude is everything. And so if I can just continue to stay positive for as long as I can, hopefully that will buy me some time. I've always been a glass half full type of person. I've had a lot of medical problems over my life that have been pretty
Mm.
serious. And I've just figured that, you know what, I can sit here and dwell on the negative and think poor woe is me, but I have to look at all the blessings I have in my life. And, in this case, I do have a lot of medical problems still, but I have a lot of good things going on in my life. I have a lot of friends. I have a good family. I have a wonderful husband. And I think I've been blessed with a very good job that gave me the opportunity to retire early. And so I just figure, you know what, if I can go out and smile and I can impact other people and help other people, then that's a good thing. And so that's what I've
Yeah.
tried to do.
I mean, you are a champion, and I heard with Big Mike, I said, you're kind of an evangelist. You are someone who is preaching the notion of what's going on with Alzheimer's, and I don't know if anyone can have more credibility than someone like you who's able to articulate so much and have the disease at the same time. So you bless a lot of people around you, don't you? You do.
Oh, well, thank you very much. I hope I do. And I hope my blog helps people. I know it helps me because, it helps me get my feelings out. And then I think, well, you know what, I'm coming up with coping mechanisms that might help me. So maybe it'll help other people. And then what really helps me is when I say I'm frustrated with something and somebody writes in and says, oh, I've got the same frustrations. And I can't tell you how many people write me privately after my blog and tell me how much I've helped them, or they give me suggestions and stuff like that. And more
Yeah.
importantly, they're sending me their prayers, and that means the world to me.
Well, and the blog is called Living My Best Life with Alzheimer's, and you can find it by going online, kellysalzheimersblog.net. That's where you can find the blog, and that way you could even connect with Kelly. Raising awareness for the walk. This is a strange year, right? I was just with a bunch of guys the other day. I didn't shake their hands. You can't give anybody a man hug. You don't know if you should touch elbows. Like, where are we in the world at any moment? But here we're still encouraging people to create a team, support a team. Tell us about the walk and what that means to you relative to raising awareness for this cause, for Alzheimer's research.
Okay. Well, I've walked for many years because of my mom. And, I used to find it very heartbreaking because I would do it while my mom was still alive. And it was breaking my heart because I knew she was
Yeah.
passing away. And then the year she passed away, I was devastated. And then the last year or two, I've done it on my own, not only in Detroit, but also in Florida. I've walked in multiple walks. And it means a lot to me because I know, to be honest with you, I'm not holding out a lot of hope that there's going to be a cure in my lifetime. I hope there is. But just knowing that those people are walking and trying to help find a cure so that future generations don't have to go through that means a lot. This year, like you, I'm a little worried because of the COVID-19 thing. So I'm not sure if I'll walk this year because I have so many medical issues. But I am fundraising, and I think that's important. And so many people don't know, they say one person in every 65 seconds is diagnosed with Alzheimer's. And so you never know who's going to get it and when they're going to get it, and if it's going to be them or their loved one, especially the number of baby boomers that we have. So it's really important that
Yeah.
people take it serious. And this is the only disease out of the top 10 diseases right now that don't have a cure. Everything else is a potential cure for, but not this one.
So as we sort of wrap up here, if someone is watching this and like you, they're high functioning or early onset, or if someone knows of someone in the family with a recent diagnosis or has some suspicions of what's going on in life, what can you say to a person who may have Alzheimer's and their caregivers? What can you tell them?
Well, I would say the first thing that they should do is they should go and get a diagnosis, and that they shouldn't, count on having a lot of possible potential cures, but that they should quickly look at modifying their diet and increasing their exercise and getting their heart health going, because if you get your heart health and you get the blood going through your heart, it's going to go up to your brain, and that's one of the best things that you can do. And then modify your diet, and that you need to remain positive. You need to make sure you're doing activities that allow you to socialize and not isolating activities like reading, because reading is a very self-isolating. It's okay to do it, for a brief period of time a day, but really you need to be out there socializing with people. And more importantly, I think you really need to get into support groups, both for yourself and for the people who are going to be caregivers. And contact the Alzheimer's Association online and look up your zip code, and you can find all of the support groups that are available to you locally. And they have a lot of great webinars that you can go to, a lot of great meetings you could go to. All of those things are good. And then I would also encourage you to become a Alzheimer's advocate and join the advocate program through the Alzheimer's Association, because they need people like us to speak out to Congress and to say, you know what, we need more funding. We need people to take this serious. We need as much attention paid on this as there has been on cancer and all these other diseases, because we need to find a cure. And one of my big things, and Chuck, you may have seen it about me, is that I want to change the face of Alzheimer's, because I think Alzheimer's is usually associated with people who are 80, 85 years old. But there's a lot of people like me who are young who have it. And so I think if the congressmen and congresswomen see that there's a lot more young people, then we might be more likely to get additional funding. And God bless the government, because recently they have signed a lot of funding, and I really, really appreciate it. But we need more.
Well, you're inspiring to a lot, and there sure are a lot of us. If I just take a look at, I'm in the same demographic as you relative to our age. We're baby boomers, right? And that means there are 74 million of us. And if you start running that math on, the odds of who can get it, how many people, and what this means, it's going to be a super important thing that we get behind something like the walk at the end. We continue to support the Alzheimer's Association. So I really encourage everybody to do that and utilize those resources. I did the same. I actually had to make phone calls, not really quite an emergency nature, but I had to make phone calls, go online, find support, and that's all available to us. Well, can you tell everybody about the blue flower?
Sure. The blue flower is a flower that the Alzheimer's Association asks someone to carry at every walk, and it's someone who is selected that has Alzheimer's, and it signifies as the person who has Alzheimer's. And so I was fortunate to be picked last year, and you and Dana Lewis did the commencement address, I guess, at the walk. And so I was up there holding the flower. So it was a very emotional experience, but it was a good experience. And, that's where I met Mike Plasky, and him and I have become great friends. And so it's been a blessing.
And you're giving us so much good, even with what you're dealing with. So we want to encourage everybody, again, check out Kelly Bone's blog. It's Living My Best Life with Alzheimer's. And also for the walk at the Detroit Zoo this year, you can go to act.alz.org/walk. And that's where you can get all the details about how to register. You can attend, you can support a team, you can create a team. And so for all the goodness that Kelly's doing and inspiration, we encourage you to show up and see us all there. It's good to see you. I hope that we can see you in August. And if not, this virtual thing is working out. So hopefully we can stay connected as well.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you so much.